we have also these drones that are simply used to fly above a trench of the enemy and simply drop a grenade. And those drones have also proved to be very efficient. So all of these various uses of drones taken together, it serves well to remind people about, in military theory, there is a concept called RMA, or Revolution in Military Affairs. Armed conflicts are always this tit for tat, where one side comes up with a new strategy, and after a while it is quickly either copied by the other side or also countered with some form of defensive action. And then the other side invents a new type of weapon system, and this is how war has developed from, well, the Stone Age, more or less, from slinging rocks to launching nuclear missiles at each other. So this dialectical, you could say, ladder is something that we have seen for a long time. But at some stages, there is a new revolutionary concept that completely upends the way that warfare has been taking place in the previous years. There are many examples, sometimes quite far back in history. One example from very old times is when the chariot was invented, and these nomad populations, the Indo-Europeans, really bursted out from the Asian steppes, and they were using these war chariots that were later copied by the Egyptians, by the Mesopotamians, by various peoples, and this was one start. Another later one in antiquity here in Europe was in Greece, or rather Macedonia, when they invented the phalanx system of these squares of hundreds of men that had these pikes, basically, that were often 12 or 15 meters long, and they would advance in very strict formation as some form of synchronized hedgehog, you could say. And that proved to be a devastating form of warfare at the time, and anybody who didn't copy it was simply left trailing in the dust. So other armies quickly adapted
yes, because
to
if
it.
you're catching up, it's actually rather quick. I mean, one thinks also in naval warfare, at the beginning of the 20th century, the invention of the dreadnought battleship.
Exactly.
And of course, they invented the dreadnought, which was excellent. The Royal Navy had them, but all of a sudden they rendered everything which wasn't a dreadnought obsolete.
A pre-dreadnought ship, as they were called,
yes.
after that.
And because it meant anybody trying to play catch-up just had to focus on dreadnoughts. They didn't have to have all the other infrastructure.
Absolutely.
And so that's quite interesting. And you see it in other areas of life as well. The folk who are sort of come second to the party can start where the other people took off. And it does seem that in this particular war that drones generally are becoming much more significant.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, we can see this in other walks of life as well. For example, here in Poland, we have been very quick to adopt various types of electronic online banking. It was already quite a few years ago that it was possible to pay instead of having to reach for your card. You could either just, at least you didn't have to swipe it, you could just do this touch,
That's right.
touch-free payment, or later with paying through your phone. And in some other countries, mainly thinking of Germany, that has proved to be a quite traditional society when it comes to payments, and also to the large-scale use of simply cash, for example. But for example, in the US, it was quite common. It still happens that people pay with a check, for example.
Well, exactly. I was going to say that in a sense, Poland leapt ahead.
Yes.
Because when I was younger, and I still have one somewhere, I never used a checkbook, and that was the main way of paying. And indeed, if you received anything from anybody, it was also a check. And the famous expression, the check's in the post.
Yes.
Whereas, of course, Poland maybe in the modern era didn't have that and went straight to cards and electronic
Exactly. So
means of payment.
This is a concept that they often call leapfrogging technologies, that you skip past 2 or 3 steps along the technological ladder, so to say, and you go straight for what is the most innovative of your time, and you don't have this legacy infrastructure network, because sometimes it's quite painful to move to the next step because you have already invested heavily in a previous working system that has been spread out across society. So sometimes people are reluctant to take their chances and try something new that is slightly unproven at the moment.
Adam, alas, the clock in the corner of the studio is calling time on our discussion, so if we'll pick it up next time. There we are. I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not, if you join us next time on Poland Daily History, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story. In the meantime, thank you for watching.